On February 2nd, I was woken by shrill screams of my mom yelling at me to call 911. My life has been full of many challenging obstacles leading me to become the person I am today. I live life every day without looking back and cherish each and every little moment I experience in my life. 2 years ago, during COVID, when my family was becoming separated for unsolved medical issues, I was at my best. 2 years ago, I was a sophomore and my oldest brother was a junior. I was participating in basketball and he was participating in wrestling. Wrestling season in our household meant that there was going to be no food at home. This was the case because food served as a temptation for my brother to gain weight, and during wrestling season he needed to do the opposite. He needed to lose weight. So during the school days, many people would make fun of him for his weight, and when he got super sick, they had blamed his loss of appetite on why he was sick, when in reality it had nothing to do with it. In the last week of January, my brother had gone to numerous hospital visits, but was just told that he had bruised ribs or was lactose intolerant. I knew this was not the case because he is a very strong child, and I was told to eventually keep away from him because I didn't want to catch what he had in case it was COVID. On the day of the incident, February 2nd, I ran out of my room to a sight that would be embedded in my mind forever. In front of me, my dad and my brother both lie on the ground. My brother was screaming in pain and my dad was unconscious. My mom had told me to call 911, but I stood in shock and I couldn't move. Instead, while she called 911, I had called my grandma, and I knew my grandma would be up. She lives just down the road, and she works at 5 in the morning, and it was only 4:30. My brother, within the hour, we had 2 cop cars come, an ambulance, my grandparents, my aunt and uncles, and my younger brother Dawson was still sleeping down in our basement. It was only 7 o'clock, and my parents and my brother had been rushed down to Children's Hospital, but I had a game that day, so in my mind, I knew I had to go to school. Upon arriving to school, I'd only told one person about what had happened because I did not want to put the burden of my emotions on anybody else. I'm not really good with sharing my emotions, and this is really mentally bad for me because I just kept pushing my emotions deeper and deeper and ignoring them. I had a basketball game later that night, and I played absolutely horrible. My friends had learned about what had happened, and they came up to confide me. I had learned that I was proud of myself because I started telling them about my emotions and what had been happening, and I could tell that I was growing as a person. Due to COVID, only my parents were supposed to be able to visit my brother in the hospital. And this had been 3 weeks that he had been gone, and this would be the longest time I would be away from my family. We had stayed at my grandparents', who lived just down the road, for 3 weeks. We were allowed to go home on weekends and spend the weekend home alone on Fridays and Saturdays, but every single day I would return home because I had 8 cats and 2 dogs to feed. One of my dogs had cancer, and so I was the only one in my family who knew how to give him his certain pills and his food, and so I was tasked with that job. On the weekends, when it was just my brother and I would play games. We would play games with each other, watch movies, and we'd then cook food, just to keep us distracted from what was really going on. Occasionally, we would be able to FaceTime my brother, but this did not happen very often because the meds he was taking made him super tired and we didn't want to wake him up. Every school day, my grandpa tried cheering us up by blowing an air horn to wake us up, just to put us in a good mood. Waking up for school was really hard every single day, but I knew that I could not miss school as it would put me even more behind than I already was. So every day I would wake up and I would fake a smile. And I don't like change, and I was constantly always worried about my brother's unsolved diagnosis. I remember telling myself that I wished it was me instead. Arriving to school was really hard because rumors had been spread around about what was actually happening, and people would assume things about my brother Devin that were not true, and it hurt for me to hear these things because people really had no idea what was going on. So me being my little shy sophomore self actually stood up to these juniors and seniors, and I had his back, and I was proud of myself for this. I had so many people there that were supporting me. I had my teachers, my friends, and my family. My teachers gave me plenty of time to do everything, and every single one of them, after I left their class, had always asked how I was doing. My friends and my family were always there for me, and I knew I could turn to them. We were given pans of dishes, so all I had to do if I needed to eat food was just heat it up. I was given flowers and care baskets. A couple weeks after, I knew I had to have a talk with my coaches about how I was playing in basketball. I was not playing like myself, and it was really hard to step on the basketball court knowing everything that was going on. But I told them that I wanted to continue to play because basketball was a way to keep my mind distracted from what was actually going on. I had to take care of my younger brother, and I had to put his needs before my own. I had to grow up and mature for myself and my family. February 23rd had arrived, and this was my birthday. My brother, a week previously, had gotten a diagnosis of a spinal abscess, and he was to return home on my birthday. My mom texted me that morning and said that they would not make it back, and I was super upset. Every year on my birthday, we always spend the whole day together as a family. But I was 16 and I was going to get my license, so my grandpa drove me there and I passed with flying colors. As I arrived back, I got called down to the office and a bouquet of flowers was waiting for me. It was from my parents down at Children's Hospital, and this would become a thing that would occur every year on my birthday. Later that night, I had a game, and in the stands, I had seen my parents. My parents had come and surprised me for my game, and this was the first time I had seen them in 3 weeks. I had learned that they were actually supposed to keep Devin a day longer, but he insisted to be back on my birthday. In February of 2021, I was reminded to cherish every moment with my family like it was my last. Living through this unfortunate circumstances allowed me to grow and mature into the person I am today. I'm Mariana Steinhaus, and in that circumstance and forever on, I hope to say I can be at my best.